The hog market continued to drift lower, and live cattle futures gave up early price gains to close near section lows. Soybeans refused to build on yesterday's price gains. That held corn futures lower on the day, with wheat futures making a big move to the upside to break the string of lower closes.
Live from Merck Animal Health Days via Farm Journal Studios, this is AgriTalk. This afternoon, we resume coverage from Marshall, Minnesota with Dr. Grant Crawford from Merck Tech Service Nutritionist. Then it's Merck Veterinarian, Dr. Brent Meyer. And directly following the news, Brian Split from agmarket.net. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, hey, say hello to the host of AgriTalk, Chip Floyd.
All right, Davis. Hey, thank you so much. We are live in Marshall, Minnesota at Merck Animal Health Day here at the Animal Health Center in Marshall, Minnesota. Big thank you to Merck for making it possible for us to have these conversations with Dr. Crawford and Dr. Meyer here in Marshall. Dude, it is absolutely gorgeous up here in, you know, we're kind of on the edge of West Central versus Southwest Minnesota. So I think we'll call it Southwest.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And as I understand, there are chances of it's partly ice cream there. Did I hear that?
Yeah.
Sunny with a chance of ice cream, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, I think it's a 100% chance of ice cream is what it is. Right. So if you are in earshot, and want to come on out here for a scoop of ice cream or a soft serve ice cream, we are at 1300 U.S. Highway 59, Marshall, Minnesota. Come on over. Get your supplies, get your vet supplies, and have some ice cream on Marshall, on the Marshall Animal Health Center. So, yeah, good stuff.
Hey, and have Big Apple Joe will sign your baby, too. Bring your babies. Big Apple Joe will put the signature right on them there. Just form a line.
Yeah. Right across the forehead. Right across the forehead there. It's a good look.
I think I read that in the event. Announcement.
That in the dunk tank. Don't forget that.
Sure. Well, he'll take time between the dunk tanks to sign your babies. Don't worry. Big Apple Joe's got it handled.
So we had 9 days in a row down, and then wheat follows up with a 20 spot. What is going on? We'll talk to Brian about that here in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and get to the market news.
Sure thing. Well, July SRW wheat futures closed sharply higher to finally end the string of consecutive lower closes at 9. Front month SRW posted an outside trading day but closed just under resistance at yesterday's high. July hard red winter wheat futures opened slightly lower and spiked support at yesterday's low before recovering to close near session highs and near the midpoint of Monday's trading range. Word from Russian officials that crop damage from the May freezes may have reduced grain output by up to 30%. Triggered some short covering in wheat futures today. July HRW wheat 11 1/4 cents higher, 6.55. July SRW wheat up 19 cents, 6.26 1/2. July spring wheat closed at 6.78 3/4, up 3 1/2 cents.
Yeah, the Russian officials are saying 15 to 30% off of the winter crops. Now, that's worse, if not much worse, than what had been anticipated earlier. So, triggering the short covering, the key, of course, is going to be some follow-through buying. If we don't get any follow-through, then today was barely worth it.
Well, July corn futures opened lower and then rallied on spillover buying to spike resistance at last week's high before giving up all the gains to close near session lows and below the opening range. The loss of momentum from early gains will threaten to send prices back to test this month's lows just under 440. Crop condition ratings for the U.S. corn crop of 74% good to excellent weighed on the market again today, with forecasts calling for mostly low-risk weather for the Corn Belt in the next 10 days. July corn futures were 2 1/4 cents lower today, 4.49 1/2. September corn down 2 1/2 cents, 4.53 3/4. December corn futures closed at 4.65 1/4. Down 3 cents today.
Yeah, that 74% good to excellent is down a point from the initial crop condition rating of the year for corn. But still, it's a very good corn crop out there according to the USDA ratings.
July soybean futures posted a high-range open and a low-range close, while respecting support at last week's low of 11.74 1/4. July beans traded on both sides of 11.80 for a sixth consecutive day. USDA rates 72% of the U.S. bean crop in good to excellent condition. That's better than the 69% in last year's initial condition rating. Bean prices were lower today, even after USDA announced the sale of 104,000 metric tons of beans to China for delivery in the current marketing year. July beans 10 1/4 cents lower at 11.78. August beans down 11 cents to 11.71 3/4. November beans closed at 11.51 1/2, down 7 1/4 cents.
Beans got no help from soybean meal today. July soybean meal down $8.70 a ton. July soybean oil was up a point.
Well, July cotton today was 92 points higher at 72.73. On your livestock's buying interest slowed in the cattle complex today. That's despite another sharp gain in boxed beef. Expectations of a steady cash market has lowered expectations for gains in the futures. June fats today, 17.5 lower, 183.75. August feeders down $1 to 257.65. June lean hog futures today, 30 cents lower, 91.95. The October contract off $1.10. 76.67 1/2. Chip Flory.
All right, thank you very much, Davis. Let's bring in Brian Splitt, agmarket.net. How you doing, Brian?
Fantastic, Chip. What is going on?
Dude, this wheat market, 9 days in a row to the downside, and today it drops. July is up 19 cents. What is going on?
You know, it really started with that Russian ag minister declaring the state of emergency in the Rostov region, but technically we went to a really good spot to see some short covering. And it's the day before a WASDE report. So you look at the July Chicago contract, we essentially retraced 62% of that whole rally from the March low to the May high. You hit the 100-day moving average and found support there. And you look at the hard red contract, KC wheat, same thing. The July contract went to a 50% retracement of the whole rally from March to May and tested the confluence of the 50 and 200-day moving averages. So very good spot before a report to see a little bit of a bounce. My concern is how the USDA addresses the Russian wheat crop in the report tomorrow. If we think about how they have addressed, let's say, Brazilian soybeans, right? You would see CONAB make a very large adjustment, and then USDA would follow up with a very minor adjustment.
Right.
And so the trade is looking for something big, I think, on Russian wheat. If the USDA disappoints and they make a small revision, today might be all for naught. Wheat is trading a lot like 2009 in all three varieties, and in 2009, the wheat market broke all the way from the beginning of June right through the end of the month.
Okay. You know, what I'm hearing so far on the harvest reports all seem to be pretty good for the HRW crop, and SRW they're just starting to get into, but it's definitely good from SRW country, isn't it?
It is, and I think you're going to see harvest pressure. I think a lot of producers were very patient, trying to see how high wheat could go, but it's evident that it's made the turn.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, Brian. Thank you so much.
All right. Catch you later, Chip. Thanks.
You bet. That is Brian Splitt, agmarket.net. Okay, we are talking about raising efficiency in the cattle that we've got out there. We're going to continue the conversation with Dr. Grant Crawford from Merck Animal Health. He's coming up next here on AgriTalk.
I don't know what you're thinking. So call us at 855-4TALK-AG and tell us what's on your mind.
It's Merck Day here at the Marshall Animal Health Center in Marshall, Minnesota. We are live from Marshall, Minnesota, and talking about efficiency and animal health and making sure that these cattle are in good shape when they come off the cow, when they head to the sale barn and get ready to go. And joining us now is Dr. Grant Crawford. He's Merck Tech Service Nutritionist at Merck Animal Health. How you doing? Again.
Yeah, I'm doing well, Chip. How
Good.
are you?
Doing all right.
Good.
Doing all right. Now, we were talking this morning about creating those efficiencies and making sure that we're taking care of the worms and having healthy animals out on pasture. What else can we do for the calves? I mean, there was a Ralgro commercial that ran during the last break. Ralgro is something that, I don't even know. How long has it been around?
We just celebrated the 60th anniversary
60
a couple
years?
years
No
ago, so
kidding.
over 60 years. Yep.
My gosh. So when someone's thinking about putting that into use, when, where, how?
Yeah, so Ralgro, like I said, it's been around for around 60 years, and it's unique in that it's approved for basically all phases of cattle. So suckling calves, stocker cattle, growing beef cattle in a dry lot, and then confinement cattle, so feedlot cattle. The place where we see it used most often is in suckling calves out on pasture alongside the cow.
Okay, what's it do?
Well, what the main thing it does is it increases feed intake, and of course, if cattle are eating more, they're going to gain more. Makes cattle more efficient, converting that grass or feed into weight. And what we typically see on these calves is if they're implanted at what we typically call branding time, so a couple months after birth, that at weaning time they'll be on average about 25 pounds heavier than calves that are not implanted.
Okay. Heavier calves just means more dollars when you run them through the sale barn.
Well, when I've been listening to you talk about the markets today, Chip, that's more clear now than it's ever been, right? That these prices are crazy. They're probably going to get crazier. You take 25 pounds times whatever these calves are going to sell for this fall, and it's a big number.
Yeah, absolutely it is. That's got to be part of the conversation. Every place you go when you're talking with cattlemen is what's going on with this market, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the calf supply that's out there, it doesn't feel like it's going to get any bigger, at least for the next 2 years.
These cow numbers, they're small.
Yeah.
And you look at heifer retention, it's showing some life. And, you look at the western states, they're actually getting some rain. But even if heifers are retained now, it's going to be a couple years till you're selling the calf out of those heifers and cows. So, these numbers look like they're going to be low for a while.
Well, they're 3 years before it's a stake on the plate.
That's exactly right. Yep, and cow costs aren't going down.
No.
They just continue to go up. So if we can figure out ways to make these calves more profitable, more efficient, it's going to pay.
Well, we got to take care of them. The moment they hit the ground, there's too much money laying there. We need to make sure that they are in good shape. Let's talk about implants and the benefits of some of the longer lasting implants that you can put in place right now. How common is it?
Implanting?
Yeah.
Well, in general, if you look, it depends on the phase of production.
Okay.
But if you look at the feedlot phase, over 90% of cattle are implanted.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And
what about on calves?
Young calves, it's a lot less. It's about 25% of those cattle are implanted. Those calves are implanted.
Okay. Now, when you're talking about young calves, how young are they when they get that implant?
Most of the labels, or all of the labels, would say either 45 or 60 days of age, those calves can be implanted. So roughly a month to 2 months after they're born, they'd receive an implant.
Okay. All right. Does that implant, just the simple fact that they've been implanted, what's that do to the value of that calf?
Well, like we talked about earlier, you're getting that added weight, so you're increasing your pounds that you're selling. Now, one of the things that often comes up is, are we getting docked at the auction market when we sell these calves? There's a common thought out there that these calves are going to bring less. Superior Livestock and several other auction barns have studied that. They've looked at equal weight calves. So, for instance, let's take a 550-pound calf that's been implanted, a 550-pound calf that's not been implanted, and what they've found over and over again, year after year, is that implant doesn't affect sale price. Right. And that's if you're bringing your calves to the sale barn just as commodity cattle.
Yep.
So they're not part of any specialty program or anything like that. They're going to bring the same per pound if they're implanted versus if they're not implanted, and those implanted calves weigh 25 pounds more.
Right. I got a text from a listener because this morning when we were having a conversation with Dr. Meyer, he was talking about what you just said. The data shows that there's no price. The guy that texted me said there's a big difference in price. And he says, I'm an implant guy, so I'm assuming if he's an implant guy that he's looking at the implants as a part of preconditioning these calves, and they're bringing more at the sale barn. No evidence of that?
No, and we've looked at it. Superior's looked at it for several years, over 10 years. I believe it's been about 15 years now. They've been tracking this and reporting it, and they've not seen a difference. And then there's been research studies in North Dakota, Kentucky, Arkansas, California, and some others. Those are just the ones that pop up off the top of my head that have shown the same thing.
Right.
That you implant these calves, you're going to get added weight, obviously, but you're not going to get docked at the sale barn unless you're part of some specialty program that's going to give you a premium for not implanting those cattle.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Good. Right?
It is, and it's, like you said, only 25% of those calves are implanted, so it's money that's left on the table.
Now, when those calves are implanted, are they getting a 290? How many days does that implant last?
Yeah, for calf implants, they're typically relatively short compared to, in the feedlot we have 200-day implants.
Right.
Most of the calf implants, like Ralgro, for instance, that we talked about earlier, it's going to last 100 days plus or minus. And what we found is implanting those calves at roughly branding time again, so let's say 60 days of age, and then weaning at 200 days of age, there's no advantage to give more than one implant.
Okay.
You're just as good giving the one Ralgro. So that makes it pretty simple. Wow. You implant one time, you get that extra 20 to 25 pounds, and that's extra weight to sell.
Well, and I gotta think doing them when they're young, implanting when they're young is going to be a whole lot easier than wrestling a 600-pounder, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of these calves are getting something before they're going out to pasture. They're getting vaccinated, they're getting castrated, they're getting fly tags perhaps.
Yep.
So we're already handling those calves, so giving them an implant at that time fits really well.
Yeah. The return on the investment in this?
These implants typically cost about $1.50. So, you put on an extra 23
math.
pounds at $3 plus a pound.
Oh my gosh.
It's a very good return on investment.
Comes back in a hurry.
Absolutely. Yep.
Holy smokes. What else do we need to be thinking about with these calves to make sure that they're healthy and bringing top dollar at the sale barn?
Well, it all starts, it really starts before day one. It starts with how we handle the cows. Are the cows in good condition? Are the cows receiving the nutrition, the vaccinations, the care they need? And then once those calves are born, are they getting colostrum right off the bat? That's going to set them up for success or failure, really, right away. We talked a little bit about deworming the cows and the calves midsummer and implanting those calves as well. But it's really just a whole herd plan, right? Are we taking care of the cows throughout the winter? We don't want to give cows a day off because those cows are worth a lot. The calves are worth a lot. We want to make sure the cows are in top condition throughout their life, good body condition, good nutrition, good health, good colostrum when those calves are born, and then we can keep both the cow and the calf productive throughout their life.
Man, this is this is stuff that I'll admit I haven't thought about it for a long time. But you're exactly right. I think back to some of the things that we did to make sure that those cows had the right condition on them when they went through the winter and getting ready for spring calving. It was every day. Every day. You want that cow to have a good day every day.
That's right. And the hard work, of course, is calving, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're calving in the mud, the poor weather, and then we get the calves and cows out in grass, and we sometimes forget about them.
Yeah.
And, generally this year in particular, we have a lot of grass, and it's good, nutritious grass. But nevertheless, we want to make sure we're still on top of nutrition programs, mineral programs, vaccination programs, so that we can get as much out of them as we can.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Dr. Crawford's going to be here at the Marshall Animal Health Center for the rest of the day. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. So if you've got any questions for Dr. Crawford, make sure that you come on in here. The ice cream machine is up and ready to go, and there is going to be supper served later here at Merck Animal Health Day at Marshall Animal Health Center. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you, Chip.
All right, that's Dr. Grant Crawford, Merck Tech Service Nutritionist. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about cow comfort. whether it be in the dairy or out on pasture. We're going to be talking about some fly control with Dr. Brent Meyer. And Davis and I are going to start to get you ready for tomorrow's supply and demand report from USDA. We'll do that next here on AgriTalk.
Let's go to the markets page at profarmer.com and check today's closes. For July, hard red winter wheat futures were 11 1/4 cents higher at 6.55. July SRW wheat up 19, 6.26 1/2. July corn futures were 2 1/4 cents lower at 4.49 1/2. December corn futures closed at 4.65 1/4, down 3 today. July beans were 10 1/4 cents lower at 11.78. Novi beans closed at 11.51 1/2. That's down 7 1/4 cents. July cotton today, 92 points higher, 72.73. On your livestock, June fat cattle today, 17 1/2 cents lower at 183.75. August feeders down a sawbuck, 257.65, and June lean hogs were 30 cents lower today, 91.95. Get more market news every market day. Visit tryprofarmer.com. Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. Our name says it all. AgriTalk. What more do you need to know?
Welcome back to AgriTalk. We are live at Marshall Animal Health Center up in Marshall, Minnesota. It's Merck Day, Merck Animal Health Day here at the Animal Health Center in Marshall, Minnesota. There's some educational seminars are happening yet today. There's supper going to be served tonight. There's ice cream available right now. 1300 U.S. Highway 59 in Marshall, Minnesota. Come on over and have a conversation with Dr. Grant Crawford, who we just had on the air, and joining us right now, Dr. Brent Meyer, Merck Tech Service Veterinarian. Brent, it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Let's talk fly control, because when we talk about cow comfort and cow efficiency and cow performance, you got to control these flies in the barns, or oh my gosh, there's a lot of extra work that can be lost just because the cows aren't comfortable, right?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, you can break it down in barns or even on pasture.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So I'll talk to the beef side first.
Okay.
You know, even on the drive up here, it's not that warm out, but you could see the cows, and the calves are bunching already. Some are standing in the water already. It's not warm out, but so there's fly pressure going on, and I say we as the industry tend to forget about those little pests, you know, because we think that's not really doing anything. But if you look at when those cows or calves, for example, horn fly control, if we have over 200 horn flies per animal, which doesn't take much for those small horn flies, you can lose up to 50 pounds of weaning weight on those calves. And so not only that, you know, it's not just horn flies these cows deal with for comfort. There's face flies. You know, we can talk about the pink eye issue that face flies cause, and the stable flies as well. So there's 3 main, I call, fly species that we have to deal with to keep the calves comfortable, so that they're performing at the peak that we can get them to, and then also milk production is there, and the health of ocular health.
Okay, so if we're trying to control some of these fly issues out on pasture, what do you do?
So there's tools out there that we can use. So one common thing is to apply a product to the animal itself. So we pour them on the back, or there's also solutions that we can put into sprayers, like you'll see guys with 4-wheelers with ATV sprayers that will drive amongst the cows and just mist the cows. So it's not much labor intensive. The cows actually get trained to knowing that they need fly relief, and they're just not going to move around. They'll just allow themselves to get sprayed. Another common thing is if you have back oilers, and that you can put near the mineral feeders that these cows and calves go through, and get that daily or every other day application. As long as it's not raining hard, the pour-ons or the applications can last us 6 to 8 weeks of good fly control. And so there's variety of products, like we have Ultra Boss, Ultra Saber, products that we have that can fit that role to limit that fly pressure on the animals.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the one thing that we need to remember when we're talking about flies is they're all looking for a blood meal, right?
Yeah, especially the horn flies
Yeah.
and the stable flies. That's their blood meal. When you see the cows are stomping a lot, that's where the stable flies are at. They're vicious biters that hurts. The face flies are more of a, I guess, scavenger. They just like to feed on the eye fluid, the nasal discharge. They feed on that, and just that irritation bothers those eyes, and that's where pink eye can start out. But yeah, it's a very painful horn fly and stable flies. And the cows, you see the cows are just uncomfortable. They're bunching and stomping their feet, and I would too. I mean, it's just constant getting bit all the time. So, I mean, use the products, get it on those animals best you can.
Okay, you said on the weaning weight, it's going to take how much off the weaning weight if you've got
50 pounds.
Up to 50 pounds off of a weaning weight. But what about the cow? I mean, what are you doing to this cow when she doesn't have the creature comfort that she wants out on pasture?
Yeah, I mean, it's milk production.
Yeah.
All right, so it all interplays. If the cow's not producing the milk, calf's not going to be able to consume as much, and
right.
So that's a big part of it, and it gets to a point if it gets too bad, we can start to get some reproductive inefficiencies happening too. We've seen that as well, and we just can't forget about also.
And that's nuts.
Yeah, the fly tags itself. The ones you put in the ears. It's important to consider those. They do work well. The key part with that is the cows need 2 tags. The calves need 1. If you just put 1 tag in the cow and 1 tag in the calf, you're not going to get that total protection that you need.
Right.
So, spend the extra few bucks and make sure you get those cows double tagged.
Again, we're talking about the return on investment here. $50 or 50 pounds off a weaning weight, that adds up darn quick. That'll pay for quite a few tags.
Yeah, it's $150 sometimes with weaning prices that we have right now, and you might invest $4 to $5 a head for fly control.
Exactly.
It's just a no-brainer to consider that going into this prime fly season right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it. All right, that is Dr. Brent Meyer, Merck Tech Service Veterinarian, Merck Animal Health. He's going to be here at the Marshall Animal Health Center for Merck Day for the rest of the day. So come on over and check it out. And then if you've got any questions for him or for Dr. Grant Crawford, come on over. Davis, let's start getting ready for tomorrow's supply and demand report. It's a big day.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, coming right up on us here.
Yes, it is. Now, supply and demand report is the thing that we're going to be looking at most closely, and that, of course, is with the carryover estimates. If you're looking for, there's still X million acres to be planted to corn, still X million acres to be planted to soybeans. There's going to be changes on soybean acres, changes on corn planted acres. I wouldn't count on it, guys. I certainly would not count on that. As a matter of fact, I think the acreage estimate, the survey is wrapping up right now. So there's still time to answer that survey if you've not done it, because we've talked about this before, but the survey work can only be as good as the data coming in. So help them out. Give them some good data so they can give this market a good number on the planted acres. So don't expect any changes on the planted acres, even though it's been a tough growing season, and that last 10% is the toughest of the last 10% of the crop is the toughest 10% to get planted, but it doesn't. It's not gonna move the numbers at this time. So don't expect much change on the acres, Davis.
Okay. All right. Well, and we've talked about replanting. We've talked about ponded acres. We've talked about dry areas that just haven't been able to. You haven't been able to get into because it rains every 2.5 days or whatever. I don't know how we account for that nebulousness in these numbers.
Well,
maybe we just try to pick it up on the back end.
Yeah, that's going to come later. Okay. And it will be really difficult to try to figure out exactly what kind of an impact that's going to have on yield. But we don't get any kind of a yield estimate until August, and that doesn't include any survey work. We need to wait until we get to September to get the objective field sampling in place and really start to zero in on what that yield is going to be. But for the old crop, let's talk old crop first. This is the 2023-24 marketing year. On the corn carryover, the average trade estimate is 2.009 billion bushels. That would be down very slightly from the 2.0222 billion bushels that we got in the May supply and demand report. So steady to lower, okay? Steady to lower is the expectation. Now, the highest trade estimate is steady with May at 2.022 billion bushels. The low estimate gets down to 1.95 billion bushels. Now, the conversation that we had yesterday with Brian Grady, editor at Pro Farmer, was let's take a 2 off the front of that corn carryover number and replace it with a 1. All of a sudden, that's a bigger difference for the market. So if it does come in and the low trade estimate is in play at 1.95 billion bushels, that could be a bullish number. I don't think there's any question about it. Is it going to happen? We're going to have to see a big increase on the corn export number. I think we will see an increase on the corn export number. I just don't think it's going to be a really big increase.
Well, yeah, it's that modifier there, that big increase.
Right.
Increase, maybe not so much with the big.
Right. Now, the other thing is they could give us an increase in the amount of corn going to ethanol production. If we get the increase in exports, which I think should happen and will, and an increase in the amount of corn going to ethanol, then all of a sudden a 1 billion plus is something under 2 billion bushels is in play. And we can't rule it out. We can't rule that out just simply because if we do get 2 of the usage categories to move to the upside on the total use, we could get a carryover number under 2 billion bushels. So we can't rule it out. Cannot rule it out. Now, on soybeans, real quick, and this is the old crop number, the average trade guess, 346 million bushels. In May, the estimate was 340 million bushels. So the average trade guess is up 6 million bushels from the May estimate that we got from USDA. The highest trade estimate, 370 million bushels. The lowest trade estimate is 319 million bushels. So, a bit of an increase. It's probably going to happen because we're going to get a setback in the export number. Okay, we're going to talk wheat. We're going to talk the new crop carryover estimates. We're going to finish getting you ready for tomorrow's supply and demand report from USDA. That's coming up next here on AgriTalk.
If the world is your oyster, we've got pearls of wisdom on AgriTalk.
And welcome back to AgriTalk, everyone. Your pal Davis Michelson here in the jewel of the Midwest, Kansas City. But Chip, you are also fortunate enough to see one of our fantastic little burgs there in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. Up in Marshall, Minnesota today at Marshall Animal Health Center for Merck Day here at the Animal Health Center. It's good stuff. There's been people coming in all day, getting their supplies, what they need. There's deals to be had. There's ice cream to be had. There's supper to be had. There's educational seminars going on. I'm telling you, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, that sounds great. Tell me about Marshall, just real quick. How big a town are we looking at here?
Like 14,000 people, something like that. It's a very pretty town.
Okay.
I mean,
wow, decent size then.
Yeah, my daughter actually spent some time in Marshall on an internship years ago. So I've been into Marshall a few times. Plus, it's kind of the northwest edge of the crop tour. The northwest edge of the crop tour. And so I've been up through here more than a couple of times, that's for sure.
Perhaps a Thursday lunch a few times, not far from where you are now.
Boy, you don't want to stop for lunch all the way over here. No, not on Crop Tour. No, if you're all the way over here, you're looking at busting it to get to Rochester by the time.
Okay.
By the time we get to the meeting time. Yep.
Very good. Very good. Well, it sounds like you're having a great time. A great event
You
there.
bet.
With the good folks from Merck. I'd like to steer us back towards the reports coming out tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
You talked about some carryouts. You talked about some demand type of stuff. I believe we were talking old crop on some of that. We need to talk new crop carryover estimates. And there's also the winter wheat production report. Maybe we should start there.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that because we need to make sure that we get that in there. The average trade guess on the all-wheat crop estimate of 1.895 billion bushels. The USDA in May showed us 1.858. So the expectation is up about 40 million bushels from the number that we got in May. The hard red winter wheat crop estimate 1.305 billion bushels, up from 1.278 billion. Hard red winter comes in at 720 million bushels. That would be up 15 million bushels from May. The soft red winter, 361 million bushels. USDA in May showed us 344. White, 229 is the average trade guess. 219 was the estimate from USDA in May. So up across the board on the winter wheats. It's okay. The expectations were high on the winter wheat crop. And Davis, honestly, I think they're getting even higher as we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a good crop. It's not perfect. It's not without holes. It's not. It's not that it's going to be a huge record crop or anything like that. But it's just a doggone good crop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not sure that I expected we'd be talking like this about this wheat crop on June 11 this year.
Exactly. I'm with you. As dry as it was early in the season out in Kansas. Yeah. Now, some areas remain bone dry. There is no question about that. But some areas have picked up some very beneficial rains. You get down into the panhandles and into south central Kansas. There's been some beneficial rains there. No doubt about it. Yeah. Okay, let's jump into the rest of the carryover expectations. Try to get those in here real quick. On old crop wheat, which is the marketing year is over, but on old crop wheat, the average trade guess is 688 million bushels, which matches the estimate that we got from USDA back in May. Then on the new crop, carryover is expected on wheat is expected to go up to 778 million bushels, 90 million bushels more than what we're looking at the end of the 2023-24 marketing year. That would be up about 10 million bushels from the estimate that we got from USDA in May. So 778 is the average trade guess. On corn, average trade guess on the 2024-25 marketing year. And don't forget, this does not include any production estimates. This is a trendline yield at the planting intentions estimates on acres that we got back in March. But the average trade estimate on carryover, 2.079 billion bushels. That would be down a bit from 2.102 billion bushels that we got from USDA in May. The big reason there would be a smaller carryover. And then on soybeans, 448 million bushels is the average trade guess on soybean carryover, Davis. I mean, it's a big number, and it would be steady to up just a bit from the estimate that we got in May from USDA, 445 million bushels. So there you go. There are the expectations for tomorrow's supply and demand report.
Okay, very good. Should we look up to the weather here real quick?
I think we should.
You ready for that? Because I'm looking at I'm just going to call it the entirety of the Corn Belt.
Yes.
Both the eastern and western belts here looking for above normal temperatures in the 6 to 10 day outlook from the National Weather Service. This valid from June 17 to the 21st. Above normal temperatures with the hottest, the greatest chance for above normal temperatures right around the Great Lakes area. And then we get out to the PNW. There's a little stripe at near normal in between there. Yeah. PNW, Idaho, Montana. Below normal temperatures expected.
Right, exactly. Then on the precip, again, this is for June 17th through the 21st. Above normal precipitation expected over most of the northern and western Corn Belt, Wisconsin, and areas west of the Mississippi River are looking at above normal precip, and then near normal to below normal precipitation expected in the eastern Corn Belt.
Quite the shift to the 8 to 14 day. The below normal temperatures move out of the PNW. It's near normal, hot every place else, and they take some of the precip out too. That's in the 8 to 14 day.
Yeah, push the above normal rains up into the northern production areas only. Hey, thank you so much for listening today. Thank you again to Merck Animal Health. We're going to have the Farmer Forum tomorrow morning here on AgriTalk.